You're listening to the Betoota Advocate's weekly news wrap on Desert Rock FM 96.5. Welcome back to the Betoota Advocate weekly bulletin, recording live here in downtown Betoota. I hope you're all excited for the weekend. It's about time, except for poor old Sydney. They've got to mask up. No dancing. Sydney. Dancing's been banned down there in the Steak and Kidney. You're joined by myself, Clancy Overell, editor of the Betoota Advocate. Errol Parker, how are you as well?
Good, mate. Just keeping track of all of these blood clots happening up here in North Queensland. Just making sure that that the authorities are keeping track of what's happening up here with this bloody so-called AstraZeneca vaccine.
Thank you, Doc. Well, we've got one in Townsville. I saw. That's
not much
in
to Queensland, mate.
One in North Queensland. What about you, Wendell?
Fighting fit and healthy, long way away from my vaccine, so I'm not too worried about these blood clots.
Yeah,
I'll deal with that
you
when
won't
we
be
get to
saying
it.
that after you bloody get it, mate. So.
Well, who knows if I will, hey? The way it's looking, this rollout. Now, let's start off with some Sydney news, and all of New South Wales hoping that old mate at least got that barbecue he was looking for.
Yeah, after a few quiet weeks on the national COVID front, it looks like we had another local outbreak on our hands. Touch wood, things all seem all right down there in Sydney, but fears were sparked after a man down there. He visited every single barbecue shop in the region while he was infectious.
Yes, and after the news broke and the hotspots were revealed, both New South Wales and the greater Australian public were asking a few questions. They were hoping that the big fella did find that barbecue smoker he was looking for. And judging by the stop at BP on the way home, followed by the meat store, it looks like he might have got what he was looking for. It was a success, and he ended up grilling his way through isolation.
Yeah, well, if he had COVID, though, he wouldn't have been able to taste it if you believe what the scientists say. And we had a couple of comments on that one, didn't we,
did.
Wendell?
You got to risk it for the brisket. We had a comment from Chelsea Steele who said, "This sounds like a typical dad. We'll travel halfway around Australia, checking out each store instead of just going online or calling to see if they have what he wants." He was all over Sydney, the big fella. Now, some other national news. Home Affairs has given Border Control officers Bunnings paint swatches for future reference.
Yes, after the roaring success of the Indian travel ban, the Prime Minister and the Home Affairs Department have now released a new immigration policy, which looks like it'll be bringing us one step closer backwards to the White Australia policy.
Yeah, Karen Andrews is picking up where Peter Dutton has left off and said, quote, "This test will be an easier, more streamlined way to filter, quote, real Australians out from people who just have Australian passports. Pull out a Bunnings paint sample sheet and if they're Sharon Tay melon, you're in the clear. But if you're chicken liver or chickpea, turn around."
And if you are reportedly cheddar pepper, then you need to answer some questions about Australian sport and neighbours. Now, in Queensland, 10,000 Land Cruisers in the main street of Rocky suggests it must be a pretty good time to be in beef.
Yes, every busted cocky between Kyogle and Weeper have made their way to central Queensland this week for what is the biggest beef week yet. After having to give it a miss last year, Rocky has seen the largest ever collection of Land Cruisers descend upon their town in confirmation that beef's been going pretty good.
Of course, while the fleet of luxury $100,000 plus rural vehicles is a sign that things are good, the week-long conference has been treated to the mandatory whinging as different cattle barons insist that they've been getting less rain than the other bushies that they're whinging to.
Always seems to fall in the neighbour's place, doesn't it?
It does, mate, but look, up there in Western Queensland, they've had a lot of rain up there, so I guess, people this year would be whinging about getting too much.
Southwestern Queensland for our next story, and a local boomer has discovered they can buy white goods online and don't have to get ripped off at Harvey Norman.
Yeah, a breeding pair of local sexagenarians from Betoota Heights received quite a shock this week. They discovered that it is possible to purchase new white goods on the internet, and not just to get fleeced at the Betoota Heights Harvey Norman.
Yes, they reckon they're going to save thousands now. They don't have to roll down there every time the toaster packs it up. And maybe if more people do that, Jerry Harvey will be able to justify the millions of taxpayer dollars he's pocketed in JobKeeper, despite turning major profits last year and paying fuck all tax, the thieving cunt.
Yeah, well, hopefully someone ties a plastic bag around his head soon, Clancy. What's coming up next, Wendell?
Sports news, Stuart McGill has been kidnapped by Barossa winemakers after derogatory remarks about the region's Shiraz.
Yes, the plonk thickens. The sports media landscape went into overdrive this week after news that Shane Warne's former understudy was kidnapped. And once again, we were first with the scoop to reveal what was at play, with some South Australian winemakers apparently bundling him into a van after the red wine enthusiast made some comments about their region's Shiraz.
Yeah, the leg spinner apparently told a dinner party that he wouldn't use Barossa Shiraz to clean his boat before pretending to vomit. And that didn't go down too well with the Barossa Valley bigwigs. So he thought it was time they taught him a lesson.
I believe it's called a Barossa crowpeck, where they tie you up to a tree and fire wine bottle corks at you from a Shanghai.
Yeah,
particularly
right.
in the groinal region.
I'll tell you what. Do you guys know what Stuart's full name is? It is Stuart Charles Glyndwr McGill, and that's spelled Glydwr.
Well, he's a spicy white after all.
Yeah, sounds like the name of a real red wine drinker. Anyway, those investigations are continuing, so we'll let you know as that story unfolds. But that is all we've got time for on our weekly bulletin. Thanks for tuning in. Look forward to talking to you in 7 days' time. Bye-bye.
Hooroo!
Moyenyo.